Finally, our third and final topic, the New York Jets. I'll raise my hand on this one. I picked the Jets to win the AFC East. I thought they had a chance to get to the Super Bowl. Obviously, that feels like it was a million years ago that I was making those picks. It is mind blowing, how far they've fallen, how fast it's happened. They look like, one of the worst teams in football right now. To allow the Patriots to go down the field on them, Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, and give the Patriots credit, they played really well, but to allow that team with a backup quarterback to go down the field on them and win the game the way they did on Sunday in what I think set up as sort of a must-win game for the Jets at 2-5 is really hard to excuse. And, where the defense had been the strength, it looks like the defense is on the ropes a little bit now. The offense has not played well. And really, like, there are a couple of things that I look at coming out of that game that I think sort of reflect poorly on the decision-making that's been made in the upper reaches of that organization over the course of the last couple of weeks. The first one is what happened in the circumstance at near the end of the game where the Jets went for two. They're at this point up 22-17, and they couldn't get lined up on time, and then they didn't call a timeout. That moved them from the 2-yard line to the 7-yard line. Instead of taking a timeout, they snap the ball they take the penalty. They snap the ball from the 7-yard line. Mike Williams gets stopped inside the 5. And now all of a sudden the Patriots have a chance to go down the field and win the game. The fact that in that circumstance, the head coach didn't make the call to use the timeout, given how important those 2 points were, and the fact that the 40-year-old quarterback didn't have the team lined up in the first place, I think are damning on the entire operation and where they are as a team right now. And then you go to the way the defense played, and the defense giving up that big long drive at the end of the game and giving up the throw from Jacoby Brissett to Kayshon Boutte, two guys who are ostensibly backups that got them in position to win that game in the end. The fact that they couldn't get the stop when the Patriots ran Ramondre Stevenson right at them. This is supposed to be a defensive driven team. And again, this goes back to the decision-making to stretch that staff thin. And in the spot they were in, where they were 2-3, going into a game where they were playing for the AFC East lead on a Monday night in Buffalo, to fire your head coach there. A lot of the questions that were coming out of that locker room at the time are coming home to roost now. The questions in that locker room were, how does this help us right now? How does taking the architect of a really good defense out of the equation and taking a really good defensive coordinator and stretching us, then how does that help us right now? Well, the defense looks worse, and operationally they look worse. And so it's almost like they've made themselves worse in two different spots. Meanwhile, they trade for Devontae Adams, who is part of an offense that still can't get its footing, and now finally is getting more out of Garrett Wilson. It's, again, like, I think this is one of these things where, we can point fingers at a lot of people for what happened on Sunday and what's happened over the course of the last 8 weeks. But if you want to look at where things really came undone, going from 2-3 to 2-6, and really 2-1 to 2-6, I think about some of the decisions made at the upper reaches of the organization. And it's like Bill Parcells used to tell his young assistants when they were looking at head coaching jobs, there's one person in the building you can't change out. And a lot of times people make mistakes on taking jobs by going to places where that one person that you can't change out is a problem. And it feels like that's what Robert Saleh and now Jeff Ulbrich are dealing with in New York. And until that gets better, it's hard to see where the Jets are going to get better as a franchise.